What's going on YouTube? Thomas L here. And on this day in 2016, the world lost the great Gene Wilder, who sadly passed away on this day in 2016. The guy, I gotta say, Gene Wilder, that guy was a legend. I mean, he was a comedy legend, and it was pretty much sad when I actually learned about his passing. I mean, I'm he's awesome. I'm 26 and I'll still countlessly like watch his classic stuff. And he's been in a lot of films. I mean, I'm gonna do my top 10 favorite Gene Wilder films, and he had an interesting good resume. Anyway, counting off at number 10 will be the 1979 Western comedy The Frisco Kid, which of course starred Gene Wilder alongside Harrison Ford years before he became Indiana Jones. Frisco Kid was a really funny Western flick. I mean, it had good, like, I really liked the chemistry between Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford. I gotta love a good Western comedy. And of course, this is not the only Western comedy he done. There's another one I'll mention like later on. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Frisco Kid, the 1979 Harrison Ford, Gene Wilder comedy, I mean, give it a go. It's really funny. At number 9 is is Haunted Honeymoon. This film came out in 1986, and it starred Gene Wilder alongside his ex-wife Gilda Radner, who sadly passed away like too soon in like the late 80s. Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner, man, they both had amazing chemistry. I mean, of course, they were married in real life, so of course they'll have good chemistry on screen as well. I mean, it's pretty much about like a couple who just got married and they pretty much go into like have their honeymoon in a very haunted house. It's filled with horror. It's filled with comedy. There's romance in it. Good good film. I mean, also Dom DeLuise was in this. Haunted Honeymoon is an '80s classic. If you haven't had a chance to check it, it's really darn good. At number 8 is Bonnie and Clyde. Of course, this came out in the '70s and starred Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway as the infamous bank robbery duo Bonnie and Clyde. This movie is also a classic. I mean, Gene Wilder didn't have like a big part in this, but his part was pretty good. I mean, it also showed that Gene Wilder could do more than just comedies. Because this movie was not at all a comedy. It was pretty serious, but Gene Wilder really gave it his best. And of course, Beatty and Dunaway had like a good chemistry on screen. Bonnet Bonnet Clyde is awesome. If you haven't had a chance to see it, give it a go. It's a really good movie. At number 7 is The Producers, of course, the original. It was, of course, a remake of The Producers that got released like in 2005 with Matthew Broderick, Nathan Lane, Will Ferrell. That was good too, but the original is where it's at. It came out in 1967. Wow, it's that old. I kind of always thought this movie came out like in the 70s or something. And of course, it's pretty much about two guys who go, like two producers who go out to make pretty much a flop. It's a classic. I mean, Gene Wilder starred in this film alongside, I forgot the actor's name, Zero Mostel. This movie was really funny. If you haven't had a chance to check out the original producers, check it out because it's filled with comedy. There's a lot of music in it as well. But yeah, they actually like AMC actually re-released the film at their Fathom event back in June. I didn't really like saw it in theaters because I had like other stuff to see that month. But if I had the chance, I really would have seen this one in theaters. It's really amazing. At number 6 is Silver Streak. Now, of course, this film pretty much starred Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, and it came out in 1976. And of course, it's pretty much about like a man who finds love on a train, and there's like lots of shenanigans that also happens. It's I don't want to spoil it much because lots of people probably haven't seen Silver Streak, but it's good. This is one of the few films that Gene Wilder starred in with Richard Pryor. Like back in the '70s and all, Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder were like best buds. They've worked together countless times. So pretty much you're gonna see lots of Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movies on my list. At number five, I meant to say, is See No Evil, Hear No Evil, which is pretty much about like a blind man and a deaf man who actually witnesses a murder. It's hilarious. It came out like in 1989. It even had like a young Kevin Spacey. I keep forgetting he was in that. Kind of odd to watch the movie now, but anyway, that movie was hysterical. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, of course, worked well together. If I think it's slightly probably their underrated flick. That's literally a film a whole lot of people really talk about when it comes to Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor films. But See No Evil, Hear No Evil is downright hysterical. If you haven't seen it, give it a go. It's a good one. All right. At number 4 will be Stir Crazy. Of course, this is another Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor classic about pretty much Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder pretty much gets convicted of a crime they didn't commit and they are sentenced to prison. You know what? I think my top 10 favorite movie prisons, and I feel dumb for leaving this one out. I'm thinking probably deleting that top 10 prison and do like another list maybe. Because I kind of did left this one. I should have added this one. Should have it. It's Stir Crazy is hilarious. It came out like in. When did it come out? Oh, it came out in 1980. Holy cow! This movie's that old. But it's a really funny movie. Pretty much, it's of course set in prison, and Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor were both funny in this. It was also directed by Sidney Poitier. He did a good job at directing. If you haven't seen Stir Crazy, this is another good Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder film to watch. All right, now at number 3 is a spoof comedy, and that will be 1970s. Oh yeah, I think it's 70s. 1974's Western spoof comedy, Blazing Saddles, which is of course a spoof on Western movies. And it, of course, starred Cleveland Little, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn, Mel Brooks, Alex Karras. Not to mention, this was also directed by Mel Brooks. Like Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder both had a good relationship. They've worked together on this, and they also worked together on another film. And I think also they did Haunted Honeymoon too. But they were pretty much like the Leo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese of that era. They did such a good job with films together, and this is no exception. Blazing Saddles is a hysterical Western comedy. I don't think this movie could ever be made today because there is stuff in that movie that will find like be offensive if it was made today. But Blazing Saddles is a hoot. It's a classic. It still gets shown on TV countless of times, and once in a while, it's definitely watch it. It's a hysterical spoof comedy. At number two is Young Frankenstein, which is another Mel Brooks masterpiece. Of course, it starred the likes of Wilder. Peter Boyle was in this. Who else? Oh well, Marty Feldman was in this. I love that dude. Marty Feldman was completely odd. I mean, he had like some of the weirdest eyes I've ever seen, but he was always the best. Like if you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, it's hysterical. It's a really hysterical flick. All right, now I now my number one favorite Gene Wilder movie is, well, I know, shocker. My number one favorite Gene Wilder movie ever is, of course, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Come on, this is by far his best movie in my opinion. I mean, Gene Wilder as the iconic role of Willy Wonka. How could you not talk? I mean, of course, we got Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. He was good. Like I love Johnny Depp as the role, but he was no Gene Wilder. I mean, Gene Wilder really embodied as the role of Willy Wonka. I mean, the way he like moved as Willy Wonka was really amazing. He's Gene Wilder also was sing really good. Like he really sung good in this movie. Like to me, Willy Wonka is a masterpiece. I mean, it's actually my second favorite movie of all time. It's of course people lots of people always gotta say Willy Wonka is a serial killer because he technically killed those kids. Which, if you saw in Charlie and Chocolate Factory, they didn't die. They were fine at the end, so I'm sure he didn't kill them. But I mean, this was Saw for kids. If you want to look at it, I mean, that's right. Willy Wonka was technically Saw for kids. I mean, Cinema Sins even did that. Like, did their cinema no, not Cinema Sins. Honest Trailers, of course, did their honest trailer for Willy Wonka, and the title of that one was Saw for Kids, and I gotta admit, I agree with that. You know, Willy Wonka is of course a hoot. I mean, the kids that was featured in this was all amazing. The adults was good. You gotta love the Oompa Loompas. Willy Wonka is pretty much a childhood favorite. Like even people who wasn't born in the '70s, have probably still seen the original Willy Wonka because it pretty much holds up. It gets shown on TV countless of times. I've seen it shown on Freeform a whole lot of times. Trust me, it gets shown on TV. Anyway, yeah, if you still haven't seen Willy Wonka by now, watch it. It's a classic, and it'll make you hungry for candy. Anyway, that's pretty much my top 10 favorite Gene Wilder movies. Let me go down the list. Number 10, The Frisco Kid. 9, Haunted Honeymoon. 8, Bonnie and Clyde. 7, The Producers. Silver Streak. 5, See No Evil, Hear No Evil. 4, Stir Crazy. 3, Blazing Saddles. 2, Young Frankenstein. And number 1, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. All right, let me give it to you guys. What are your favorite Gene Wilder movies? Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas L. signing off.